All right, time for another DraftPhysics.com, debatephysics.com also, but as have been found out, the debaters just won't show up. Even when you offer them fair compensation, they still won't show. So anyway, there are a few in the comment section once in a while, so we'll do a comment. But it's pretty lame and pretty distant from being useless, but whatever. All right, so we're back to this box thing. All right, and so this commenter says, Joseph, none of the problems you listed is a problem for anyone who understands basic physics. So again, this was a huge argument for hundreds of years, frankly, for at least a dozen decades. And so just keep pretending, yes, it's not a real subject. Because you'll have some sort of absolute proof that it's your truth is the truth. It's just such bullshit. And to the box thought experiment, the answer, it really can be a real experiment. It's not that hard to, you put 4 wires on the box, put the box on 4 wires, suspend it, and then do the experiment, inside the box. Not that hard to do. Anyway, for physicists that spend billions of dollars on all kinds of neutrino detectors. Anyway, at first glance, he saw, whoops, that's the wrong one. Yeah, that's the other guy. And to the box thought experiment, the answer is that the box will not move, but the Velcro on the left must do more work to stop the object. So some sort of excuse that somehow, there's 1,000 joules of heat in the Velcro, right? But they're never going to show us any of that. All right, so the simple truth is you don't have to do the Velcro thing. So let's just do the spring thing. Because your theory says when this bounces off the spring, Professor Lewin will tell you, twice the energy goes into the object. Okay, so when it bounces off with 100% of the momentum, it actually puts 200% of the momentum into the object. So we're still there. So we can just use springs and then you won't have any heat thing. Okay, we could just use the springs, let it oscillate, and it'll keep creating more and more energy, right? Because it's going to keep oscillating, and so it's going to keep hitting the side, hitting the side, hitting the side, hitting the side. That's what your physics actually says. That's, I've pointed this out, and nobody seems to get it. But you take an anvil and you bounce a ball bearing 200 times on top of it, and their theory is that 200 times the energy, twice the energy. Each bounce, twice the energy went into the anvil. Each bounce. They actually believe that crap. Okay, so I can use springs. Now you can't do your little pretend that the Velcro got super hot. So we know this will be 2 times, and this will be 2 times the force, and so 2 times 2 over here is going to be 4 times the energy going this way, and 2 times the energy going that way. So you're still stuck. Ha ha. So come up with some other bullshit. You people are just such balls of suck. You can't concede the evidence sucks. In 300 years, they haven't fucking done these simple experiments. They haven't dropped 4 pounds 1 foot and then dropped 1 pound 4 feet and see how much it weighs. In 300 years, they can't do the simplest fucking experiments, and you're telling me, we've proven it all, and you're just blowing the smoke at the wind. Yeah, fuck you, Joseph. Fucking asshole. Anyway, the answer is the box will not move, but the Velcro on the left must do the work to stop the object causing more heat. So I pointed out, I'll read my comment. There is no obscurity here. So it's just so obvious. Yes, it's obvious that it takes 25 times the fuel to spin a motor 5 times as fast. It's obvious. You don't need to do the experiment. So, it's just like saying God is obvious. Oh, just look at a tree. You can see it must be a God. Butterflies? Who would make butterflies except for a God? Oh, you people are pathetic. Ask any physicist. I've been asking them, you fucking weaselly little cunt. For 2 years I've been asking them to answer these questions and they won't do it. Oh, you're such a piece of shit. Or a physics student. Why would I bother with a little drone? Okay, and they will give you the same answer. What same answer? They're going to make up some fake heat. Oh, it made a whole bunch of heat that we'll never measure it though, because it's not our job. It's not the job of physics to prove anything. We just make up stories. We don't have to prove anything. Oh, I just hate these weasels. Okay. All right, so I replied to his, but the Velcro on the left must do more work to stop the object. I point out, you have no evidence to defend this assertion. And if half the extra heat did leave the box, so let's say it did make more heat, and you could just say that, well, half the heat's going to go outside the box and half the heat will go inside the box. There's still more heat going out this side of the box, fuckhead. All right. Leave the box and radiate twice as much energy from one side than the other side of the box would then move. So the fact is the box will move if you're going to make more heat. Okay. There is no obscurity here. Okay. What there is no physical evidence ever produced. You just telling Jesus stories. You're just telling Jesus stories. Then where he says, ask any physicists, I said, I've offered them substantial financial compensation to answer the question, and they've all run away because they're little pussies. They really don't have the intellectual capital to take me on. Okay, that's the simple truth. They're not smart enough to defeat me. Simple truth. By the way, I point out, do you really think it takes 25 times the energy to spin a motor 5 times as fast? Have you ever seen any evidence it does? Okay, so that was, So the reason why I made this video is he actually answers that question, and it's just such a stupid answer. Anyway, so he points out where I said, you have no evidence to defend that assertion. My point was, so his point is something other than the evidence. We all should be following the evidence. That's the scientific method. You follow the evidence. You don't follow the story. My point was that the experiment would not solve anything. Of course it would. It's not that hard to measure heat, okay? A thermometer does that. We have all these digital thermometers now. So if the Velcro is going to get very hot, we're going to be able to sense that, oh, it got so much hotter going this way. Physicists say the box won't move, and you say the box won't move. No, the point is physicists insist the box must move. Because it's twice the fucking energy, retard. So you're not even getting it. As soon as they say the box doesn't move, I win the argument. Because it means the kinetic energy can't move the box. If the kinetic energy can't move the box, it can't do any work. It's not real energy. You dumbass. So any physicist who says the box doesn't move, he loses. All right, and if half the extra heat did leave the box and radiate, okay, so I already said that part. So yes, heat differential could be used to create thrust. Well, then there's going to be twice as much heat on one side of the box than the other. And he says, but what's the problem? Well, there's going to be twice as much heat on one side of the box than the other. That's going to be the problem, fuckhead. All right. That would basically be a rocket. Yeah, that's right. You'd have more thrust on one side than the other side, which means it would have to move in the opposite direction, which would be the irony of it. More energy this way, and the box actually moves the opposite way, which would be pretty fucking funny. Yeah, we know how rockets... You say you know how they work. I'm saying you don't have a fucking clue. You think that if I shoot the rocket up at the same... at 60 miles an hour... it's really going to use the same fuel. It's not going to use any more fuel. It's the same work. It's a per foot force, gravity. Gravity's a per foot force, so no problem. I just go 60 miles an hour. I don't have to get hot and do all that crap. Fuck all that shit. I mean, you're ridiculous. You know how a rocket works. Fuck you. All right, what there is no physical evidence ever produced, okay? And he says, that's a lie. Then where is it? Link to it and this whole conversation's over. So go ahead, link to this example of anything being measured in terms of a 5-ton train or a 5 mass going 10 velocity and a 10 mass going 5 velocity, and show me the experiment where they ever proved, okay, this one, the 5 mass going 10 has more energy. Show me the tug of war. Show me them colliding into each other. Show me some fucking place where that's ever been proven, you fucking piece of shit. Oh, God, you have no right to use the word lie, you fucking liar. All right. These things have been tested by physicists since Newton. So that's the big joke. Since Newton, they haven't done a fucking experiment. Not since Newton, they haven't done a fucking rationally interpretable experiment. They've dented clay with round things. They've dropped things into piles of sand and assumed that because something leaves with a higher velocity, that means it's more total energy. Because some pieces go further, therefore all pieces went further, which isn't the truth. You haven't even tested the 8-pound ball against the 16-pound bowling ball. You haven't done any experiments, for fuck's sake. Amazing lie. All right, not to mention all the classroom experiments done all the time. Right, and I've pointed out how the huge flaw is these frictionless carts have a bunch of metal wheels. And all of the, maybe half the actual momentum is an angular momentum that you can't see, that's not linear. So you can't measure its velocity and then say its velocity is mass times velocity because you have a whole bunch of angular momentum in the wheels. So you haven't accounted for anything. You don't really think about anything. You're also such lazy-brained motherfucking shit-talking jackasses. By the way, I said, do you really think it takes 25 times the energy to spin a motor 5 times as fast? Have you ever seen any evidence it does? And he says, ideally, yes. What the fuck? Where's the ideal? Where's any kind of... How could you possibly believe that's true? You go 10 miles an hour, and then you go 50 miles an hour, and you think you use 25 times more gasoline when you're going 50? God, you're delusional. I have seen it demonstrated with rubber bands and carts. Well, show me. Show me this rubber band experiment. Okay, where you put in 25 times more energy to go 5 times as fast. But that's not what convinced me. So something actually convinced you? I mean, that's a funny line, right? What convinced me was understanding the theory. How do you understand it? I mean, exactly. You go 3 times as fast, somehow you have 9 times the energy. I mean, how does it make any sense to you? You have mass moving, a velocity. Why would I think it doesn't work in electricity? I mean, amperage, you don't square the voltage in electricity. I mean, in what other place, anywhere in the physical universe, is this nonsense idea that somehow the mass isn't just as important as the velocity? It doesn't work anywhere. And it's just stupid, frankly. 100 times the energy to go 10 times faster. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then you talk even about Newton. Do you believe in the third law? I mean, obviously this box experiment violates the third law. A bullet in a gun violates the third law. I mean, why do you even mention the third law? You obviously don't believe in it. All right, and the hundreds of years of science behind it. What's science? So again, just show me the papers, show me the fucking experiments that prove this crap. God damn. Show me the real experiments, okay. Like why work is force times displacement. I guess he said replacement, and not force times time. So again, you say so, and I've already made the argument. So again, another experiment you haven't tested. So go ahead, roll something twice as fast and measure how hot the ground gets. That's not that hard to do. Measure how much energy you put into the ground. And the simple argument is do it on a pane of ice. Do it on a sheet of ice. Roll something twice the fast on the ice and demonstrate that there's the same pressure being applied to the surface when obviously there won't be. You could put them on scales, for fuck's sake, right? You can put a scale and, have a foot and then have a scale for that 1 foot. And then you could roll something across the 1 foot at twice the velocity, and you could see it's not going to weigh the same. It's going to weigh half as much at twice the speed. All right. To me, it's all very intuitive, which is bizarre, right? It wasn't intuitive to Newton, and it certainly wasn't intuitive to, you could say, Galileo and Descartes. And most of the Newtonians of the time, most of the people of the time, it wasn't intuitive to either. Leibniz was buried as a complete nobody, a forgotten moron. So it obviously wasn't intuitive to anybody. It's certainly not intuitive to anybody who's seen a lever oscillate. Yeah, it's not intuitive to that person who sees two kids of equal mass oscillating on a lever. The faster objects are, well, I should have used two kids of different mass at different positions. All right, the faster objects are harder to accelerate, says you. So where do you have a single shred of evidence of this harder to accelerate thing? There's no evidence of it. Where's your experimental evidence showing that something's harder to accelerate? Just link me to even I mean those aren't even anywhere in the little high school demonstrations or your little silly demonstrations. I've never seen a harder to accelerate experiment. So show me the harder to accelerate experiment. Especially when lighter things are supposed to be harder to accelerate. That's the part that's so ironically hilarious. They claim the lighter the object, the harder it is to accelerate. Well, it doesn't have any problem in the guns accelerating the bullet. All right, if we assume they weren't, I think they would lead to strange outcomes. Like what? So I'd love to hear that example. I'd love to you just point to me one single place in any circumstance in the world, any mechanical engineering circumstance where momentum gives you a terrible wrong answer. Just show me one place in the real world where if I look at it and I calculate the momentum, I'm going to get a fucked up answer. It's certainly not going to happen with car crashes. It certainly ain't going to happen with bridge collapses, referencing local news. I mean, recent news. So where does this happen? Where this magical thing where momentum will give you a wrong answer? Where is that? Do you have any reason to think otherwise? I don't have any reason to believe in your Jesus, okay? I think it is a bizarre statement of yours, okay? I think it's extraordinarily strange and bizarre statement that you actually believe it takes 25 times the energy to spin a motor 5 times as fast, or 9 times the energy to spin it 3 times as fast, or 16 times the energy to spin it 4 times as fast, or 100 times the energy to spin it 10 times as fast. I think that is extraordinarily strange and bizarre. I haven't seen that happen anywhere in my life ever. Okay. So really, just fuck you. God damn you people. Just hate you people. Just hate it here. Okay, so maybe I'll throw in some other, see what time I have. It's gotta go make my dinner and such. So till later, maybe I'll add some crap. Who knows? Alright, got about 10 minutes. So, this all stems from the gravity argument. So, might as well do that really quick again. And, it is another thought experiment. I mean, an experiment can be done. It's not that out of our reach. You drop something from 4 times the height onto some sort of nail, okay, that goes into some sort of substance. And then you do the same thing over here with the same mass, except you do it 4 times from 1 unit of distance. Their theory says these two things are the same energy. Doing this 4 times is the same as this. So even though this will be 4 falls in gravity, that is 4 seconds worth of falling time, this will only be 2 seconds of falling time. That somehow it's going to be the same energy. Okay, and obviously I'm arguing no, this is going to be only half the energy of this because it's only half the time in the gravity, and that gravity is 9.8 meters per second per 1 second. In 1 second you get 9.8 meters of velocity. In the second you get 9.8 meters of velocity. That's all you got. Alright, so you only end up with 19.6 here. Alright, you don't get 4 units of acceleration. You only get the 2 units of acceleration because you're only in the gravity 2 seconds, and it's essentially a rain. Okay, the gravity is an amount of gravity. You collect it based on how big your mass is. The electrons and protons are really the thing being pushed, and they all have the same mass. So the more electrons and protons you have, they don't go any faster. They all just go the same speed because they're the sail. They're what's collecting the force is the electrons and protons. And they all move the same speed. That's why everything falls at the same rate in gravity, is because the only thing really falling are electrons and protons. And, and this is where it all goes wrong. Okay, this is where it went south. is Leibniz and Huygens didn't really think this time thing mattered. Now Galileo made the point, 1, 3, 5, 7, kind of pointing out the faster you're going, the faster you go through the gravity, the more distance you'll travel before you get another unit of velocity. You don't get a unit of velocity until you're in it for 1 second, okay? You have to be in it for the 1 second to get the unit of acceleration. And they rejected that simple idea and just thought that it's only about this distance. And it doesn't have anything to do with how fast you lift something. So obviously when you lift something slowly, it feels like a lot more work because it actually is. And if the rocket took off, this idiot pointed out how we know what rockets do. Well, we know that if you lifted a rocket off the surface of the Earth at 60 miles an hour, guess what? 22 miles an hour, I think it would be, to defeats gravity. But anyway, 60 miles an hour, you're going to use a lot of fuel because you're going to be in the gravity a long time. And if you can get the rocket going really fast, quickly, and get through the gravity quickly, you'll do less work and you'll use less fuel. And those are the facts. And so this whole conversation is just almost idiotic. It's so obvious that gravity is time dependent. How long you are exposed to the gravity, free falling, decides how much energy you collect. Nothing else. All right. I mean, I've done all these examples. I mean, the gravitational body, you zoom by it. The faster you zoom by the gravity, the less it bends you. Why? Well, because it's a time-dependent force, and the faster you go through it, the less sun you get, the less suntan you get, the less rain falls on you. It's that simple. It's a real force, and it's a real time-dependent force, like all the other forces. It's about how long you're getting hit by it. All right, so I guess we'll call that a video. And so till the next time, and such, and so forth, and whatnot. But really, I just hate humans. Hate them.